how this trader can stop looking at the numbers and enjoy life. Hey, it's Walter here, and you're at the Think Profit podcast, where we're going to help you develop a rock-solid trading confidence and avoid the potentially endless cycle of system switching. Right, Hugh?
That's right. We're going to help you develop a wealth mindset, develop a trading strategy that fits your core personality, and help you overcome the obstacles that stop over 90% of traders.
All right, Hugh, sounds good. You ready to go?
Yeah, let's do this.
Hey, Hugh, so we have a trader here who's written in a question, and the question is, if you could wave a magic wand and change one thing about your trading, what would it be? And our trader friend here says, I would like to learn to not look at my numbers, to just enjoy trading and living life. I thought this is a really interesting question because, well, this trader I think is fairly experienced. Let me just double check. Yeah, been trading experience, for years and years, right? And this trader is saying, I need to stop looking at my numbers. I just need to enjoy trading and living my life, which is really interesting because there could be like the subtext might be I'm spending too much time, at the computer watching watching price bounce around, right? We've all been there. But you could also read into this as like this trader understands that part of trading is letting go, right? And the idea of controlling what you can control. I'm really big into this. And when I work with some of my coaching students, a lot of what we do is this idea of focus on what you can control, right? So you as a trader, you can control what? Well, you can control if you get into a trade, when, at what price you get into a trade, how much that trade you're going to give it, how much wiggle room. In other words, how far does it go against you before you pull the plug, if at all? How far will it go in your favor before you take profit, right? So you control the amount that you're going to trade, right? And how long, even you could have a time stop, right? How long will you hold on to this trade? So all of those things are under your control. However, what's not under your control is this particular sequence of wins and losses. That happens to be random for everyone. Even if you have a 99% win rate, that is a random sequence for you, right? Your losers will come. And even if you trade martingale, even you can't. That martingale is really, when you think about it, the martingale approach is trying to take the randomness out of trading. Like, I will always win. You know what I mean? And of course, that doesn't work. Yeah. But this is really good. I think this trader is really close because the idea of not looking at your numbers to just enjoy trading, I believe that the easiest way to do this is to focus on your exits and entries and to pay attention to how well you are doing this. So you need to grade yourself on your entries, grade yourself on your exits, possibly even grade yourself on your mid-trade management. So for example, I have a target on every trade and then I have a trailing exit on almost every trade. And so I kind of have that mid-trade management where, when does the trade go to break even sort of thing? Is it when the trailing exit gets beyond my entry price? Or is it when I hit the first target? Do I move to break even? You know what I mean? There's kind of a decision I have to make there. So I believe that you should be scoring yourself on your entries and your exits, and you should really gear all of your focus and all of your attention on that. Now, this assumes that you have a system that you've tested, you have the data for, it's going to work, or you don't know it's going to work, but you have a pretty good hunch that it would have worked over the last decade or so, and there's no real reason why you would think it would stop working now, right? So that's what I would say about this idea of, just to enjoy trading and living life. Living life could mean that you're just spending too much time in front of the computer, and you can automate your exits. I've done that. You can do things like that, or you can simply trade the higher time frames. But when it comes to looking at the numbers, and it sounds like this trader's like, I just need to learn to let go. The trader understands you need to learn to let go, but how do I do that? And again, I think for me, what I found, and for the traders that I work with, we just put all of our focus on what we control, which is how well are we entering these trades? How well are we exiting these trades? How well are we mid-trade management, sort of thing, right? Which is, like I said, moving to break even or whatever. So what are your thoughts on how this trader can stop looking at the numbers and enjoy life?
Well, I mean, that's the whole point of this, right? So that's a good way to look at things, I guess. A couple of things I've kind of came up for me. One, I'm not sure what numbers they're referring to. So like you said, it could be the trade itself. Maybe you're spending too much time in front of the screen looking at the charts. So yeah, I mean, like you said, I would say try to automate as much as possible. Try to, you could automate the entry, automate the exit, try to cut down the number of trades that you do, maybe, or number of systems. If a system isn't like performing or adding a whole lot of value to your overall portfolio, then maybe cut it out and find something that's a little more time efficient in that sense. If you're talking about you're analyzing your stats too much, like your MFE or your drawdown or your win rate per week or whatever you're doing, then find a way to streamline that. And what's the minimum number of stats that you need to look at? And is there a way that you could automate that? Like have some sort of system that sends you an email or something with your just some basic stats, or just look at your statement once a month or something like that, right? Enjoying life, I think, is the whole point of this. So I think it comes back to the automation ultimately. Like, how do you automate as much as possible and only do the parts that you enjoy doing, right? I don't know, maybe it's the analysis, maybe it's the back testing. So figure out, what do you enjoy? What do you like doing in the trading process? And then try to outsource the rest. Maybe you could hire somebody to do some of your other stuff. And that could be one way to enjoy life more and get your time back.
Yeah, those are all really good options. Yeah. It's funny, isn't it? Like when you first start training, you kind of get sucked into it, like as if you want
to do as much as possible, I think, or something, right?
Yeah. I felt like I was trying to crack the code. I think that's why I was attracted to like Gann and things like that,
Yeah.
And I think that's why Gann is so attractive to new traders. The idea that he's cracked the code sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But all the traders I know that are successful today, they have more of this letting go kind of sense. You know what I mean? Like kind of like,
Like what makes sense to me, I think, is important. What important thing for me, at least, like if it makes sense to me, I'm more likely to figure out a trading strategy around it, as opposed to trying to fit myself into this other mold of Gann or Fibonacci or whatever it is, right?
Yeah. That's why I always cringe when I see traders like on YouTube or whatever say, this is like, if you have this strategy, you've got the golden goose. You know what I mean? Like that's part of that always gets me. Or actually, you can see it in the free factory forums too, where people like say this. And it's interesting because what ends up happening always, if you look at those threads, is someone will post a strategy and like it's like, I got it, and then everyone's like, first the naysayers come in and like, oh, this is crap, how come you didn't add RSI or whatever, something like that, and then then there's like some people that get some attention, like get some traction, and more people kind of look and see what's going on here. And then by the end, like years later, it's only the hardcore that are left, and usually the original poster is long gone.
Yeah.
Somebody else is kind of like a little team of people have taken over, but it often doesn't look like they trade it differently. So the way that the original poster posted it and the way that the people are posting at the end. And so if you come in as a newbie in the thread, you'll be like, hey, how come, what's going on? Oh, we found that, you got to have the smooth RSI and then, everything's good. It's so funny. Like, yeah, it's funny, the process that it goes through. But I think that personally traders go through the similar process where you kind of like, you get the strategy, you get really excited about it. And you might even have some success for a while, but eventually there are things about it that you don't mesh with, and you have to either throw it away completely and find something different, or you modify it. That's where you end up usually.
Yeah. And it's funny, you look at those threads, right? Like how many people have actually tested it? I don't know. I've maybe counted 1 or 2 people per thread, and the rest of them are like, oh, I'm just going to do this right now, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And you can tell by the questions, because they'll say, well, what's the win rate, or what's the, how is it, how profitable, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
They're asking questions that they would know if they tested it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like and then they're like, okay, yeah, I'm going to try this. Yeah. It's funny. It's so funny. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah. So I think there's a lot that this trader can work with based on what we've talked about here today. So hopefully that helps.
Yeah, but I like the focus on like, trying to live better and live life. That's awesome. All right. Thanks, Walter.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks.
All information in this podcast is for educational and informational purposes only and is not trading or investment advice.